Hello, my name is Maria Mouchtritsa and I'm a PhD candidate at the University of the Basque Country. My presentation is entitled Teachers' Attitudes Towards Inclusive Education at Greek Secondary Education Schools. The work I will present to you was approved and published in the high-indexed international journal Education Sciences. Introduction. Many researchers in Greece and worldwide believe that inclusive education is a critical topic. It is a new school development dynamic, a policy or philosophy of a pioneering shift in all of its functions that has been applied. The attitude of teachers is a critical factor in determining the performance of children with special educational needs in school. The way teachers think about their pupils affects how they engage with children in inclusive schools. Possessing a good attitude toward students with disabilities is a prerequisite for developing effective tactics. Inclusion can only be successful if teachers show that they are open to students with special needs. Objectives. The current study's research objective is to examine special and general education teachers' attitudes toward inclusive education in Greek secondary schools, as well as the effect of teachers' age, gender, teaching experience, and training in implementing inclusive practices on these attitudes. Research questions. What are special and general education teachers' attitudes towards inclusive education in Greek secondary education schools? How do teachers' age, gender, teaching experience, and training affect their attitudes towards inclusive education? Methodology. To investigate the research objectives, a quantitative primary correlational between group survey was conducted in a non-experimental design. The current study sample consisted of 307 teachers from Greek secondary education schools. Teachers are almost evenly distributed between general education and special education, as well as permanent or deputy employment status. The current studies questionnaire contains 26 questions in two sections, which are demographic characteristics and attitudes towards inclusive education. There are 11 questions in the first section of demographic characteristics. The second section includes 15 questions from the sentiments, attitudes, and concerns about inclusive education scale revised questionnaire. The questionnaire consists of 3 factors of 5 questions: negative sentiments, positive attitudes, and concerns. The responses are given on a 4-point scale. The data was analyzing using SPSS 24. Mean and standard deviation were used to analyze scaled variables in linear type questions. Independent samples t-test was used to compare means between 2 large independent samples. The reliability of factors was calculated using the Cronbach alpha coefficient of internal consistency with acceptable values greater than 0.6. Results. The outcomes of our study underline the fact that teachers did not seem to have any negative attitudes toward people with disabilities. According to the findings of our research, teachers had a positive attitude toward including students with a range of difficulties in regular classrooms. According to the study's results, instructors tend to be neutral in their concerns regarding inclusive education, such as their capacity to offer sufficient attention to all students in an inclusive classroom and having the knowledge and skills required to educate children with disabilities. Our data also indicated that teachers are neither agreeing nor disagreeing with the idea that students with disabilities will be welcomed by the rest of their class. The comparison of special and general education teachers revealed that special education teachers have lower negative attitudes toward people with disabilities, lower concerns about inclusive education, and a higher positive attitude toward including students with various types of problems in regular classes. Regarding age, the study found that teachers aged 36 to 40 had less positive views towards disabled pupils and more positive attitudes about including them in typical classrooms. Positive views were also seen among teachers aged 22 to 30. However, older teachers expressed more negative attitudes towards disabled individuals and concerns about inclusive education. Also, teachers aged 41 to 45 had a mixed approach, expressing both positive and negative views towards inclusive education. The research found that both males and females had negative attitudes about disabled individuals and concerns about inclusive schooling. Interestingly, females had more positive sentiments about inclusive education than males. In general education, teachers with 2 to 5 years of experience had lower levels of negative feelings and concerns about disabled students, whereas teachers with 10 plus years of experience had higher levels. Also, teachers with 0 to 1 years of general education experience had high levels of concerns about inclusive education, whereas teachers with 15 plus years of general education experience had lower levels of positive views. Teachers with over 10 years of special education teaching experience had reduced levels of negative feelings towards disabled individuals. Teachers with 0 to 5 years of special education experience expressed more concerns about inclusive education. Training in special education influenced teachers' views towards inclusive education. Teachers with special education training showed lower levels of negative feelings towards disabled individuals, lower concerns, and more positive attitudes towards inclusive education. Also, teachers with some training had more positive views towards inclusive education. Conclusions. This study's findings suggest that special education training might help build positive attitudes toward inclusion. Older teachers, 51 plus years in general education, were less supportive of inclusive education. Positive views were higher among females and teachers with some training. Future research with larger and more representative sample is needed to generalize the results. Thank you for your attention.